Hey, welcome back. It's your man Wise, and today I have a great video to share with you guys, man. This is another walkaway testimonial. This brother right here, man, his story is a story that a lot of us can relate to. I know I can definitely relate to, not the fact that he's a cancer survivor, but how much life changed for me and my family when the Obamacare was implemented and forced upon us. I remember it, and I know how much it cost me and my family when that happened. This brother right here is a cancer survivor, and he is sharing his story of why he decided to walk away from the Democrat Party. Before we get into the video, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. I appreciate all the love and support. We are on our way to 100,000 subscribers. Again, I am so blessed. I am so humbled. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys that check me out, follow me, and watch the channel on a day-to-day basis. I really do appreciate it. Before we get into the video, we must have a word from our sponsor, Childlight Candles. Please support Childlight Candles today. These candles are amazing. Support a veteran-owned, family-owned organization operating out of the Dallas, Texas metro area. Again, I can't say it enough. These candles are great. They're 16-ounce candles. They're a plethora of flavors. My favorite right now is the Black Cherry Merlot. That is one of my favorites. I also like the frankincense and myrrh, but you'll see on there is a plethora of flavors and fragrances to choose from. Support a veteran-owned, family-owned, American-based organization. Childlight Candles, fragrances lit for the kingdom. Now let's get into the video.
With the elections coming up, I thought I would share why I am no longer a Democrat. You know, I have had the ability to vote for people even though I didn't like them. I can honestly say I've never voted against somebody. That's just, to me, the wrong way to look at it. But the thing that got me leaving the Democratic Party was more or less one specific issue. See, I was a two-time bone cancer survivor, still am. That's how I lost my arm. And having health care was extremely important to me. I heard all the talking points of, you know, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. The average family is going to save $1,500 a year. It's not a tax. All of this stuff made sense to me, how this was being pushed. And then the Democrats were also saying, well, you know, Republicans don't want you to have insurance if you have pre-existing condition. Well, I was a walking pre-existing condition, having cancer twice. My insurance was $185 a month with a $1,000 deductible.
Now, y'all heard that. Less than $200 a month with a $1,000 deductible. That sounds like insurance to me. That sounds like health insurance to me. And that's health insurance that I don't think any of us have seen in a very long time. Very long time. Now, I will say this, and I think I've told you guys this. I fell for the hope and change. I fell for the young brother with some swag who played basketball, who smoked Newports, who smoked a little weed. I fell for it. I thought that we were getting a black president, someone who resonated with me, who came from places similar to where I came from. That's what I thought. A lot of us fell for the exact same thing, and we were duped. I didn't look at the policies. I did not look at anything that he said that he would implement. I honestly did not care at that time. Now, I was a much younger person. We're talking 2007. I was a very young person with a young family and really just trying to figure out this thing called life. And I was not aware, nor was I paying attention to how my vote would affect my life and affect others. Previous to that, I voted based off of my beliefs. I was a military person, so I knew Republicans, they like to give military folks raises. They supported the military. Me being someone who served in the military at that time, I voted the Republican Party. Although throughout my upbringing, the stories I heard about, how Black people voted for Democrats. I heard that in my household. I heard that in the schools and in the area that I lived in. But me being I guess, somewhat of a free thinker and really just selfish thinker at that time is I'm going to vote Republican because I'm in the military and I could use a raise. And they were about it. And that was really all that I was concerned with at that time. The next time around, again, like I said, I fell for the hope and change like so many of us out there. And not understanding what I was doing to myself and to our country by not being so much more politically astute than I am today and not taking the time to really get an understanding of what an individual stands for and the policies that they want to implement. I solely looked at color and I looked at this brother's demeanor and I looked at this brother's wife. Because I'm like, man, we're going to have not only a Black president, but a Black first lady. I fell for all of it. Every last bit of it, I fell for it. Not knowing that this is a con and this dude's a grifter. I fell for it. Now, I will say this. When the Obamacare was implemented, the job that I had, I worked at a small business. I worked for a small business. And what was really cool about that is that from the top down, we had a relationship. We all had a relationship. And I remember having a conversation with the person that was a controller. And she was also the person that, she was the head of payroll, so forth and so on, for our company. And I remember having a conversation with her and she was saying, I am holding off on implementing the new insurance regulations as much as I can because our old insurance is a whole lot cheaper than anything that we would have to take in the near future. So where I worked at, they held off as long as they could. But I do remember the day or the week or the pay period when it first was implemented because it's a small business. Obviously, the company is going to take a piece of, or they're going to pay a piece of the insurance, but then you're going to be responsible for another piece. And I remember going through that and I'm looking at it and then I'm asking questions. I say, hey, I won't mention her name on here. I don't know if she watches the channel, but I won't mention her name on here. But I asked her, I was like, hey, does this mean that you guys are going to pay this? And they're like, no, this is what you have to pay. This is my out of pocket. And this is what the deductible is. And it wasn't just based on family, individual, or couple anymore. It was actually based on how many people you had in your family and the ages of those people. So the older you are, the more you were going to pay for insurance. If you were a 50-year-old man and you were married to a 30-year-old woman, your insurance would be a certain amount. Her insurance would be a certain amount. And then they would combine that and say, okay, how many kids do you have? 2, 3, 4 kids, whatever. And then that would get added. And then you got a number to say, okay, this is how much it's going to cost you. It was mind blowing how much out of pocket I was going to have to pay. It was insane. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. But let's keep going with this brother's story.
For a family of 5. So I voted for Obama-Biden in 2008 based on Obamacare. Now fast forward to 2010, when Obamacare was implemented. Everything that they said was not true. The Supreme Court ruled that it was a tax if you didn't have insurance, that penalty. So that was a lie. Insurance premiums went up instead of down. That was a lie. The insurance policy that I had specifically, that I had going through 2 bouts of cancer, chemotherapy, amputation, all of this stuff, it was great insurance. The insurance company canceled it because under the new Obamacare guidelines, that policy wasn't good enough. So they no longer offered it. They came up with a new offer and said, this is what your new plan will be, or you can go through the marketplace. And when I looked at them, the cheapest insurance I could find to replace that one was $1,200 a month with a $6,000 deductible. Remember, $185 a month with a $1,000 deductible is now $1,200 a month with a $6,000 deductible. No additional income. So I had to make a choice. Do I keep a roof over my children's head, or do I get health insurance and struggle?
Man, that's so unfortunate. My situation wasn't as dire, but I recall, if I recall, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but I believe I might have been paying maybe about $5,000 a year for insurance, but had a really low deductible. And when this flip happened, taking out of the 3 options, I took what would be considered the most affordable option of the 3. I won't say cheapest, I'll just say most affordable. I went to a point to where I was paying out of pocket $1,000 a month. And I believe our deductible was somewhere around in there, maybe about $4,000 a year. And for those of you guys, especially the young people that are not familiar with how this insurance thing works, so I'll just talk about myself. I was paying $1,000 a month in insurance. That was my out of pocket. It was roughly around there. So that's $12,000 a year just in insurance. On top of the fact that I had another, $4,000 in what's considered a deductible. So what the deductible means is that that's what you're going to have to pay out of pocket before the insurance actually steps in and says, okay, hey, we'll take over the rest. So in all actuality, if you actually hit the deductible, in my case, I hit the deductible 3 years in a row because I have children. And at the time, my oldest son, who was an athlete at the time, athletes get injured. He played football, he wrestled, he played a lot of physical sports, and athletes get injured. And I hit the deductible every year. So I was paying $16,000 a year, 3 years in a row, just in insurance. And hitting the deductible, the $12,000 does come off as a write-off, but the $4,000 that was paid hitting the deductible, you could not write that off. At least I was not able to write it off as additional expenses. It was just out-of-pocket costs for me. And that was also the first couple of years where I really started making some money. And again, I know I told you guys this. I, have been taking care of my family, and being the sole provider and number one income in my family for a very long time. And I finally get to a point in my career where I started making some real money. And next thing you know, I feel like I'm being robbed because it was almost like a full step backwards in comparison to where I was before I was paying this exorbitant amount of insurance. And that's when things started to change for me. And I had to open my eyes up and look and say, wait, hold up, Tom, what the heck is going on here? Why am I paying so much? I started to realize these people don't care about us and they do not have our best interests at heart. They supported the poor people and they supported the very rich people. But those of us in between, working class, middle class, lower middle class to upper middle class, we have been getting the shaft for a very long time.
And I chose to just keep a roof over my children's head. And then I was penalized every year. I didn't have insurance for 10 years after that. Couldn't afford it. For 10 years, I was penalized every single year because I could no longer afford the insurance that I was required to get through law of Obamacare. I voted for that shit. And it did nothing but hurt me and my family. And I was supposed to be getting chest x-rays, CT scans every 6 months to maintain that I was cancer-free. I wasn't able to do that for nearly 10 years because of Obamacare. So I didn't get to keep the plan I liked. I didn't get to keep the doctor I liked. I was taxed and penalized, which they said it was not. And insurance was through the roof. It literally killed the middle class. And my wife at the time, she worked at a business office coordinator at a hospital. So we knew exactly how the insurance game worked. And it decimated the middle class. That was the first thing. And I noticed on the vote for that it was 100% supported by Democrats. There wasn't a single Republican that voted for it. And when I looked at that, I was like, maybe they knew something that I didn't know. Of course, I guess you would have to read the bill, right? But I digress. That reason right there alone is why I left the Democratic Party. Now, young people, there's something I want you to truly think. Don't vote against somebody. Don't vote against Donald Trump because you're told to hate him. Don't vote against Biden because you think he's a senile old man. Vote on what you think is going to affect you the most. I also looked at whenever Donald Trump got elected, I did get a tax cut. My employer got a tax cut. My employer then gave all 300,000 employees raises and raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour starting out. And I noticed that Nancy Pelosi kept saying, well, it's just crumbs if anybody got anything out of it. No, I got a $3 an hour raise back in 2017.
So think about this, a $3 an hour raise. That is a very substantial amount of money when you start looking at it in the grand scheme of things. And what I mean by that, when you look at that over the annual, people say $3 and you'll scoff at $3. But if you multiply $3 times 2,080, which is what would be the equivalent of working 40 hours a week for a year, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that number is 2,080. So you're looking at just, not to have to do a lot of hard math, but 3 times 2, that's a $6,000 raise, over a $6,000 raise in the grand scheme of things. That's a lot of money. And I'm sure it helped due to the fact of how much money he was spending on insurance. I know he had stopped paying it, but he had to pay those fines. And to get an additional $6,000+ a year in your annual salary, that's huge. That's a lot of change. So that's nothing to scoff at. But Nancy Pelosi can scoff at $3 an hour because she's the greatest stock trader known to man.
That was not crumbs. And I know other companies started giving other things too. Bonuses, better benefits, better retirement, raises. And I noticed who voted on that. 100% of Republicans, not a single Democrat. So we had Republicans wanting me to have more of my own money, and the Democrats didn't want me to have more of my money. So I started looking at these policies and how they directly affect me. Now, the thing that you young people that are under 26 years old haven't had to deal with yet, you know how you're struggling right now? Food, gas, utilities, rent, mortgage, formula, diapers, all of this cost that is involved. After you turn 26, you're going to have to get insurance on your own. You haven't had to deal with that yet. Insurance is just crazy since Obamacare was put into place. You think you're struggling now, wait till you have to buy your own insurance. That is reason enough for me to vote for Donald Trump. Not that I like him, is that he's saying he's going to get rid of Obamacare. and how that affected me and my family so negatively over the years. I can't wait for that piece of shit legislation to get killed. There are things that you haven't experienced in life yet that you need to look ahead to. Ask your parents whose insurance that you're on, if you're young, what their insurance went from before Obamacare to after Obamacare. See what they tell you. Because I promise you that affected your family. The only people that Obamacare benefited were the extremely poor and impoverished. They got everything subsidized.
And the health insurance companies, because they were able to raise rates. And the hospitals, because they was able to charge more. The extremely impoverished and the elite, those who own the health insurance companies, those who run these hospitals, they made a lot of bread during this time frame. They've made a lot of money during this time frame. The pharmaceutical companies as well, they've made a lot of money because all they're doing is passing that cost right on over to regular citizens, working class, middle class people.
There are people that it helped. I'm not oblivious to that fact. But the majority of Americans got it stuck to them. So these are the policies that I vote for and against. I don't like Donald Trump, but I will vote for him because of the policies that are in place. If I close my eyes and look back 4 years ago of how my life was to currently, and I don't factor in Donald Trump did this, Donald Trump did that, Joe Biden did this, Joe Biden did that. Gas was more affordable, groceries were more affordable, utilities were not crazy like they are, rent, mortgage, all of my aspects of life were better than they are now. Everything's a struggle right now. Vote wisely. I'm not saying vote for Donald Trump. I'm just saying have a reason to vote for who you're voting for. And if you're just voting against somebody, then just please don't vote. Please don't. If you don't have a reason to vote, then just don't vote. Because you're going to mess things up for the rest of us that have had to deal with what we've dealt with for the last 3+ years. You think life is tough now? Wait till you start having to pay for your own Obamacare. Thing is going to get different.
Wow. Powerful. 100% right. I experienced it. And I know a lot of you all out there experienced it as well. This Obamacare, it was not good for a large majority of people. Again, if you were on the bottom end of things because your insurance was either paid for 100% or subsidized in some kind of way, and all the people up top that benefited from being able to charge more for health insurance, from the hospitals, pharmaceutical companies on down. Those people benefited big time. And I agree with this brother to an extent where he says, don't vote against someone. Know what you're voting for and vote accordingly. Now, I don't want to be one out here advocating for people to sit it out. But if you're just voting to vote against, but you're not supporting or you don't believe in the other side and what they want to implement and what they want to do in this country, you probably should sit it out because your vote is your say. Your vote is your voice in this country, not only on a national level, but on the local level as well, which is just as important, if not more important. So many of us, especially when we're young, we have a vote, but we don't really know what we're voting for and why we're voting for it. And maybe it's a situation where we need to reevaluate that, where maybe there's some classes or something that needs to be taken before you have the ability to vote, very similar to what our naturalized citizens have to do. I don't know. But let me know what you guys think, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. I appreciate all the love and support. Keep God first in your life, America first, and I'm going to catch up with you all next time. Peace.